What if you're told $10,000 is the price of a decent used motorcycle, a budget vacation, maybe a few months of rent somewhere? But here's what most people don't know. $10,000 in the right hands, at the right dealership, can also buy a sedan that makes strangers turn their heads in a parking lot. Not because it's new, not because it's flashy, but because some cars were built so well, so premium, so far ahead of their price point, that even years later they still carry that same weight, that same presence. The 5 cars in this video were not chosen randomly. Every single one of them was, at launch, positioned as a near-luxury or full luxury product. Some competed directly with BMW. Some had wood trim and heated everything from the factory. Some came with tech that brands double the price couldn't match at the time. And today, all 5 sit under $10,000 in the used market. So buckle up, because this list is going to change how you look at the used car lot from now on. Starting with the first one is the Cadillac CTS from 2015 to 2016. Now say Cadillac to most people and they picture an old man's car. Big, soft, slow, something from the 1980s with velour seats and a boxy trunk. That image stuck around for a long time, and Cadillac spent years trying to shake it. Then came the third-generation CTS, and it changed everything. This car, the 2015 and 2016 specifically, was not built to be comfortable. It was built to compete. The exterior design on this generation CTS is still considered one of the sharpest things to come out of Detroit in the last 2 decades. Angular cuts along the doors, vertical LED lighting front and back, a stance that sits wide and low. Park a 2015 CTS next to almost anything under $20,000 today, and it wins the visual contest almost every single time. Step inside, and here's where the story gets even better. Real aluminum trim, genuine leather that didn't feel hollow or stretched thin, a driver-focused cockpit layout where every button had a purpose and nothing felt like an afterthought. The center console sits slightly raised, borrowed from sports car design language, and it wraps around the driver like a physical reminder that this seat was built for one person in particular. The back seat is where the CTS made a compromise. It's not a town car back there. The roofline slopes, the space feels cozy rather than generous, and taller passengers will notice. That's the trade Cadillac made to get that silhouette, worth knowing before purchasing. But the drive, that's where opinions align. The base engine, a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, produces 272 horsepower. In 2015, at launch, that number put it directly in competition with turbocharged European 4-cylinders that cost significantly more. The car doesn't feel underpowered. It doesn't feel like a base anything. It pulls confidently, shifts cleanly through the 8-speed automatic. The step-up engines, a 3.6-liter V6 in 2 different states of tune, push that number to 321, and then 420 horsepower respectively. The 420 horsepower CTS V Sport sitting under $10,000 is a different conversation entirely. But even the base model earns its place on this list without needing the extra cylinders. Magnetic ride control, available on this generation. It's the kind of technology that at the time was genuinely impressive and still performs today. Now for the honest part. Cadillac reliability in this era wasn't perfect. The CTS had known issues with its infotainment system. The Q interface frustrated owners regularly. Touchscreen sensitivity, slow response times, system freezes. That software became a complaint that followed this car in reviews. Some of those issues have been addressed through updates, but used examples will vary. Check the screen before anything else during a test drive. The right 2015 or 2016 CTS, well-maintained, clean history, no deferred service, is one of the most complete used car purchases available under $10,000. The wrong one is a financial project. Research the specific VIN, pull the service records, have a mechanic inspect it, and then, if everything checks out, drive it, because very few cars at this price point feel like this one. The second on this list is the Hyundai Sonata. Because the Cadillac CTS requires homework, it requires patience, it requires knowing exactly what to look for. The 2017 and 2018 Hyundai Sonata requires almost none of that. And that's not an insult, that's actually the point. Hyundai spent most of the early 2000s being the punchline, the cheap car, the car people bought when they couldn't afford something better. The warranty was long because the brand needed to convince people to take a chance. Then something shifted. Hyundai started hiring talent away from Audi, from BMW, from some of the most respected design studios in Europe, and slowly, then suddenly, the cars started looking like they belonged in a different category entirely. The 2017 Sonata is the clearest proof of that shift. The exterior uses what Hyundai called a fluidic sculpture philosophy, curves that flow from the front grille through the body panels into the rear without any harsh breaks. The chrome trim on the window line runs a continuous arc from the A-pillar to the trunk. The headlights sweep back aggressively. When this car is clean and sitting in good light, it photographs like something that costs significantly more than it does. It's not a copy of anything. That matters. Some brands at this price point tried to mimic German design and ended up looking like a tribute act. The Sonata developed its own visual identity, and that made it stand apart in a crowded segment. Inside, the 2017 and 2018 Sonata offered something that felt genuinely honest. Soft materials across the upper dashboard, stitched surfaces, a layout that was intuitive without being clinical. The 8-inch touchscreen on the higher trims ran Hyundai's Blue Link system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. In 2017, many cars at this price point either didn't have those features or had them as expensive add-ons. Heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats on higher trims, a panoramic sunroof that made the interior feel genuinely open, lane departure warning, rear cross-traffic alert, forward collision warning. These weren't luxury extras, they were standard or near standard on the Sport and Limited trims. The 2.4-liter four-cylinder produces 185 horsepower. Not exciting, not meant to be. It's smooth, quiet, and refined in a way that larger engines sometimes aren't. Hyundai tuned this engine specifically for refinement over aggression, and on a long highway drive that choice makes complete sense. Noise, vibration, and harshness levels in this generation Sonata impressed reviewers who expected a budget experience and got something much closer to European mainstream quality. The 2-liter turbocharged option, the Sport 2T, brings 245 horsepower with a completely different character. The power delivery is more immediate. The exhaust note has texture, and the suspension tuning on Sport trim models was slightly firmer, giving the car directional confidence that the standard model didn't prioritize. Here is the major advantage of choosing the Sonata over everything else on this list: reliability. Hyundai's 2017 and 2018 reliability record in this segment is strong. Consumer data consistently places this generation Sonata near the top of its class for owner satisfaction and lower than average repair frequency. The engines, particularly the 2.4-liter, are known quantities with extensive service history available across independent shops everywhere. It's not a car that requires a specialist. It's not a car that needs a dealership to reset sensors. Most repairs can be handled locally, affordably, and quickly. At under $10,000, a well-maintained 2017 or 2018 Sonata Sport or Limited trim is arguably the most sensible purchase on this list. The look holds up. The tech still feels relevant. The reliability is real. And the total cost of ownership over 3 to 5 years is likely to be lower than almost every other option here. Third, Mazda 6. The 2016 and 2017 Mazda 6 is not like the other cars on this list. It's not trying to be luxurious. It's not borrowing design language from someone else. It's not stacking features to justify a price. The body of a 2016 Mazda 6 has almost no straight lines. The hood curves subtly. The fenders are sculpted with light in mind, not functionality, not aerodynamics, but the way sunlight moves across metal. The rear diffuser, the twin exhaust tips, the way the trunk lid finishes with a clean lip spoiler, nothing was accidental. Mazda employed sculptors alongside engineers. That's not marketing language. That's documented development history. In a parking lot full of black and silver sedans, all of which look vaguely similar, the Mazda 6 reads as something different. Not louder, not more aggressive, just more considered. Open the door and the Mazda 6 Grand Touring, the trim worth targeting under $10,000, delivers a cabin that challenged Audi at the time. Not in the same segment officially, but visually, materially, and in terms of driver-first thinking, the comparison wasn't unreasonable. Genuine leather, real wood trim that didn't look like plastic pretending to be wood, a thin-rimmed steering wheel with well-placed controls, sightlines that felt natural rather than engineered around safety regulations. The driver's seat positioned the occupant lower in the car, connected to the road rather than above it. The BOSE audio system on the Grand Touring trim used specific speaker placement calculated for the interior dimensions of this exact car. Not a generic setup, not the same speakers from a different vehicle. Mazda worked with BOSE engineers on positioning that took into account how sound reflects off the glass surfaces in this specific cabin. Now the engine situation needs explaining, because it's the most common question about this car. The 2016 and 2017 Mazda 6 uses a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder producing 184 horsepower. No turbo, no hybrid assist. And in 2016, some reviewers questioned whether that was enough. Here's the reality. It depends entirely on what the expectation is. This engine was built around Mazda's technology, a platform designed to extract maximum efficiency and response from naturally aspirated combustion rather than adding forced induction. The result is an engine that revs freely, responds immediately to throttle input, and doesn't experience the lag that turbocharged engines sometimes introduce at lower RPMs. It's not fast, but it never feels slow. There's a distinction there that matters. The 6-speed automatic shifts smoothly. Mazda reliability in this generation is exceptionally well documented. The 2016 and 2017 Mazda 6 appears consistently near or at the top of reliability rankings for mid-size sedans. The engine and transmission are robust. Common issues are minor. Some owners reported infotainment updates needed, occasionally a sensor replacement. Nothing structural, nothing expensive. Fourth is the Volkswagen Passat 2017 and 2018. This was not built to excite. That was never the goal. The Passat was built to disappear into a life and never cause problems. Comfortable, quiet, spacious, competent. And in that narrow but very real category, it does things none of the other cars on this list can do. The 2017 and 2018 Passat has one of the largest rear passenger areas in its class, not one of the largest for its price. One of the largest, period. 6-foot-plus passengers sit in the back without their knees touching the front seat. Headroom doesn't disappear under the roofline. The seat itself is wide, cushioned correctly, and angled for comfort on longer drives. For anyone who frequently carries adult passengers, or anyone where the front seat is not the priority, the Passat answers a question the other 4 cars here cannot. Exterior design on this generation sits in a calm, composed space. It's not angular like the CTS. It's not flowing like the Mazda 6. It's precise. Straight lines, clean surfaces, a front end that communicated seriousness without aggression. The proportions are almost perfectly balanced, long hood, short overhangs, a trunk that doesn't feel like an afterthought. It doesn't photograph dramatically, but in person, parked in a business district or outside a hotel, it carries a quiet credibility that aggressive styling sometimes can't achieve. It looks like a decision made by someone who knew exactly what they wanted. The cabin on the 2017 and 2018 Passat SE and SEL trims, the ones worth targeting, carried German interior principles forward from Volkswagen's more expensive products. Soft touch surfaces on the primary contact points, clean switch gear that operated with tactile precision, an infotainment system that, while not flashy, worked consistently and responded accurately. The 1.8-liter turbocharged four-cylinder in the 2017 Passat produces 170 horsepower. That number in isolation sounds underwhelming. In practice, combined with the 6-speed automatic transmission and the car's overall refinement, it doesn't feel strained. Volkswagen tuned the torque delivery for real-world situations: highway merging, city acceleration, uphill grades. The 3.6-liter V6 on higher-end examples adds significant smoothness and capability. Availability under $10,000 for the V6 trim varies by market and mileage, but when found, it represents an exceptional value proposition. Now the honest section, because the Passat has a well-known complication. Volkswagen reliability in the American market has historically been inconsistent. Not terrible, not alarming, but inconsistent in a way that requires attention. Specifically, the DSG dual-clutch transmission in some configurations developed issues that required service earlier than they should have. Some electrical systems on earlier production runs of this generation had quirks. Water pump failures on higher mileage examples were reported across owner forums. None of these are guaranteed problems. Many Passat owners in this generation report zero significant issues over hundreds of thousands of kilometers, but some have faced repair costs that stung. The solution is simple. The vehicle history report is everything with the Passat. A car with regular Volkswagen dealer service history, consistent oil changes, and no major reported faults is a very different purchase than one with gaps. What the Passat offers when the right example is found is a genuinely premium German sedan experience. Quiet cabin, solid road manners, appropriate luxury features, and real adult-sized rear seating, at a price that would have been considered absurd when it was new. Now finally the fifth and last, Kia Cadenza. The Kia Cadenza from 2014 to 2016 is, without question, the most undervalued sedan on the used market in its price range right now. And almost nobody is talking about it. Here's the context. When the Cadenza launched in the American market in 2014, Kia positioned it not against the Sonata or the Camry, but it was against the Lexus ES and against the Acura TLX. A full-size, near-luxury flagship sedan with a starting price that undercut those competitors significantly, while matching or exceeding them in measurable features. The only reason it's cheaper is the badge on the front, and that's a very good reason to look past the badge.